Walk us through the evolution of the city. I mean, as you rightly said, in 1965, the city was birthed. And so from 1965 to the 19th of July of this year, the city turned exactly 60 years. Now, before the city existed, how were Ghanaians trading? Why did we decide to abandon that medium of exchange, that model of trading, to now decide that we want to adopt the CD as a legal tender, and so on and so forth? What is the story there? Because once we're celebrating we're celebrating 60 years of the birth of the CD, we ought to know how far we've come. And that's why I'm asking about the evolution of the CD. What is the story?
So normally, we say that we remember the past to draw, not to dwell in it,
right,
but to draw wisdom from it. And understanding the journey of the city, it is very essential, and it will inspire us to innovate for a greater and a better and a purposeful future.
Right.
Prior to colonial times, it was a barter system where you are able to value some products and then value the other side of the product. So if I'm exchanging some goods with you, we all have a way of valuing it and we exchange. So in a way, you find a way. So they were very technically sharp in evaluating assets. So don't underestimate those days. So they know that a number of bottles of water is equivalent to this plate. So they did a barter system in those days. Then after that, they used things like cowrie shells. And the cowrie shell was very valuable and durable. They also used gold dust after the cowrie shell. But with the cowrie shell, there were some seeds, which we call pesuabo. So they were pesuabos. The tree was pesuabo tree, and the pesuabo seeds were also used as basic units.
Right.
Then came colonial times, and Ghana underwent, at the time, the West African Currency Board, when we used West African currency between 1912 and then 1958 on the 14th of July, when we transitioned into the Ghana pound. Right. So let's look at what happened right after independence. So our independence was on the 6th of March, 1957. But before you become truly independent, you needed to have both political independence and economical independence. So Ghana got its political independence on the 6th of March, 1957. But prior to that, because there was the need for that economic independence, there was the need for a central bank to be established. So the Bank of Ghana was then established on the 4th of March. That is on the eve of independence. And that meant a step towards economic sovereignty. But that economic sovereignty was not achieved yet, because the establishment of the central bank meant that the central bank was supposed to issue its own currency. If you're a central bank and you don't have that mandate to issue currency, then you don't even exist. So the mandate of every central bank is to issue and redeem currency. And for that matter, Ghana, Central Bank of Ghana, also issues and redeems currency. Nobody in Ghana can do that. But in order to start the step-by-step process of getting its economic sovereignty, Ghana decided to issue the Ghana pound.
Right.
And the Ghana pound was issued on the 14th of July, 1958. Why Ghana pound before the cedi? Now we're living within an environment surrounded by a number of countries who were all using the British pound system. And you needed cross-border payments, cross-border interactions, transactions. So there was the need to make sure that you balance a very easy, exchange rate in terms of the exchange rate between whatever currency you issue and the Ghana West African currency. Right. So Ghana started with Ghana pound, which was 1:1 with the West African currency. Right. But the name Ghana in its currency meant a lot to Ghanaians because it made them psychologically aware that we were no more under colonial rule. Right. So Ghana pound was introduced on the 14th of July 1958. And the currencies there, the banknotes were 10 shillings, 1 shilling, 1 pound. So 10 shillings, 1 pound, 5 pound. And for interbank transactions, we also introduced 1,000 pound. The coins were half pence, 1 pen, 3 pence, 6 pence, 1 shillings, and 2 shillings. But let's look at all these issues with shillings and pounds and pence. So for every pence, if you have 1 shilling and you need pence, is 1:12. Okay. So it means that 1 shilling is to 12 pounds. Additionally, 1 pound is to 20 shillings. So that was what was happening around the time. And Ghana realized that, look, this doesn't help. 1:20, it was quite too messy for Ghanaians. So Ghana said that, look, if you want economic sovereignty, able to clean up all vestiges of colonial rule, let's change our currency system and make it very easy for Ghanaians. So then Ghana in 1961, through the Kesel Committee, started the roadmap to getting its own currency. And they chose the symbol of Cedi, which is now the Cedi, which is a cowrie shell. And then the smallest unit, which is also Pesuabo, became Pesua. But then we did not adapt the pence, shillings, and pound system, but we did what we call decimalization, where each of the currencies is divisible by 10. So that is when we brought in 1 Pesua is equal to 1 Cedi. And that was revolutionary for Ghanaians. So the birth of the Cedi, and that is when we found our true identity. So the identity of Ghanaians in its economic sovereignty was founded in 1965 when the Cedi and the Pesua was born. And we also adopted another currency system which we call the decimal triplet, which is, in that case, you do 1, 5, 10, so that it makes life easy. So in 1965, this is what happened. And all the currencies at the time had the image of our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We continue?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this history. I mean, we're learning a lot this morning. We're learning a lot. Yes.
Okay.
So had the picture of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes, it had a picture of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So when the Cedi was now introduced, the notes at the time were 1 Cedi, 5 Cedis, 10 Cedis. We had 50 Cedis, 50 Cedis, and 100 Cedis. Those were the banknotes that were introduced. The coins were 5, 10, 25, and 50. We still had the 1,000 Cedi notes, which was still used for international transaction. Then, so you realize that the banknote represented sovereignty. It represented power for the nation. So, in 1966, when the National Liberation Council overthrew Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first thing they decided was to change the currency because of the power it represented, because of the sovereignty it represented, because it was the foundation of the financial system. Right. So the first thing they thought of is put together a roadmap to changing the currency. So in February 1967, the announcement was made that, look, we are going for a new currency. And they moved ahead, and the currency in May was introduced by the governor, by the then governor. So in 1967, the second currency was introduced. Now, what they decided at the time was that, look, we think that the currency was undervalued. And there was the need to do a realignment, rationalization of the currency. So what they introduced, which they called the new cedi, even though the currency had the cedi as the symbol for transactions, they called it the new cedi. And everyone's new cedi was then equivalent to 1.2 old cedis. We don't call that redenomination at the time, right, because the currencies were still the same cedi. But for people to appreciate the new and the old, the new one was called the new cedi, and the old one, of course, the old cedi. And at the time, they now rationalized it and only introduced 1, 5, and 10, okay, leaving the 50 and the hundreds. So they brought 1, 5, and 10. And instead, they brought in a number of coins. 1 peswa, 2.5 peswa, half peswa, 1 peswa, 2.5 pesos, 5 pesos, 10 pesos, and 20 pesos. Okay. So that was in 1967. And that was the first time the 20 peso was introduced. Right. So in 1972, we saw another change, okay, that also brought new currency. And as I've told you, anytime there was the change, because of the power and the sovereignty that the currency represented, there was always the rush to change the currencies in circulation, the currency in circulation. So in that time, another reform happened and another new designs were introduced. So they still maintained the currency structure in 1972, but added a 2 Ghana Cedi. And that was the first time a 2 Ghana Cedi banknote was introduced. And that is where we had what we call the logic decimal triplets. Logic decimal triplets in the sense of 1, 2, 5 also coming into circulation. And that stayed in circulation until 1979. Okay. So all these banknotes were in circulation. And we know what happened in 1979, where people who had more than 50 cedis lost 50% of their value. And then those who had below 50 cedis lost about 30%. So right from 1979 to 1983, we had some currency reform. And within that time, there was, from international trade, our currency was seen to be overvalued. So there was a number of, depreciation, devaluation of the currency. And we realized that within the time, there were notes that were coined a number of times between 1979, 1983 till 2007. So we moved from 1 cedi, and then at the time, in 1979, we had the highest denomination being 50 cedis. We ended up before 2007 with the highest denomination being 20,000 cedis. Right. Of course, with the number of zeros, Ghana decided that, look, we cannot keep on carrying so many zeros for a transaction in baskets. Then came this famous redenomination exercise when the value is the same. Right. 1 cedi was 10,000 Ghana Cedi. So let's look at it. So at 20,000, which was the highest denomination before redenomination, became 2 cedis. And then
You
most...
mean 20,000 became 2 cedis, or
Yes.
became 200?
Became 2 cedis.
20,000?
Yes.
Because
Divide
we
20,000 by 10,000.
Ah, okay. Right.
So the highest denomination became 2 cedis.
2 cedis.
And the next highest denomination became 1 cedi. So the 10,000 became 1 cedi, and the 20,000 became 2 cedis.
Okay.
That was a big change in Ghana, because Ghanaians had to get used to it, doing this calculation. And at the time, we made it very clear that even though 20,000 has become 2 cedis and 10,000 has become 1 cedi, the value is still the same. And let's note that at the time, 100 cedis became 1 peswa. 100 cedis became 1 peswa. So this continued, and we enjoyed redenomination. At the time of redenomination, the exchange rate was about 1 Ghana Cedi to about $0.92, which was very enjoyable for Ghanaians. Then in 2010, we had to celebrate the centenary 100 years of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And the denominations that we introduced in 2007.
Right. And before you go on, let me just say that viewers, as you can see in your shots, we're showing you some of the, what we call the action, or the stuff that's happening within the presidency of the Accra International Conference Center. Those are interesting shots that it's sort of showcasing the kinds of things that you're missing because you're not here. And so, but back to Mr. Dominic Osu. Mr. Dominic Osu is actually the head and head of currency and director of currency management, right, at the Central Bank, or the Bank of Ghana, where he's taking us through the evolution of the city, basically from birth to today, which is the 28th of October, 2025, and we're enjoying it. It's a very, very, very important, historical event of things. And so, please go ahead.
So back to 2010.
Right.
So let's also appreciate that during the redenomination, Ghana did not introduce any 2 Ghana Cedi. There was no 2 Ghana Cedi. It was 1, 5, 10, 20, and 50. 1, 5, 10, 20, and 50. Then when there was the opportunity to celebrate the 100 years of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we realized that there was the need to bring the 2 Ghana Cedi back in circulation. So the yellow note with the portrait of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was introduced in 2010. And specifically, this was to celebrate 100 years of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And in 2012, Ghana, we had to upgrade the 50 Ghana Cedi that was introduced in 2007. Because you realize that in 2010, we introduced a cocoa pod, green cocoa pod, on the money where the portraits, the basics were, because we were hit by a sophisticated counterfeit. The counterfeit was, we saw the counterfeit in circulation. We didn't make too much noise, but we realized that there was the need to proactively upgrade the notes and withdraw those currencies from circulation. So in 2012, there was an upgrade of the 50 Ghana Cedi, and it was introduced. Then nothing happened in Ghana until 2017, where we needed to celebrate 60 years of the establishment of the central bank. 60 years of the establishment of the central bank. So if you remember, we introduced what we call the short note, which was in the 5 Ghana Cedi, with a portrait of Kwejiri Agri. So that note was only introduced as a commemorative note to celebrate 60 years of the central bank, establishment of the central bank. And if you see that banknote only came in for the celebration, and it has never been issued again.
Okay.
So then in 2019, another significant milestone, these banknotes from 2007 had been in circulation for close to about 10 years. The banknotes that were introduced in 2007 had been in circulation for about 10 years in 2017. So Bank of Ghana decided to prepare itself to upgrade these notes. And let's take note of this, that International Association of Currency Affairs, that is IACA, recommends that every nation must try to upgrade its notes every 6 to 7 years. Okay. So let me repeat. International Association of Currency Affairs recommends upgrades in the currency every 6 to 7 years. Why is this? Anytime currencies are introduced, it's always fantastic with security features. But with time, these fraudsters and counterfeiters, they begin to master the game. So if as a central bank you want to be on top of your game, then when you see the emergence of some level of counterfeit, there is the need to do an upgrade. Right. So in 2019, Ghana saw another reissue and upgraded banknotes. So the current series of banknotes that we have in circulation were introduced in 2019. But within the same period, after having had these currencies in circulation for a number of years, from 2007, Ghana had to look at what we call the note coin boundary. And we normally do some scientific and technical work, which we call demetrics, to establish the best currency structure that we need as a country. Okay. So after that work, there was the need for us to introduce higher denomination. Okay. Because if your denominations are too low, and instead of coining some banknotes, you're still making those some banknotes coins, you still maintain it as paper notes in circulation, it deteriorates quickly, it's cost to the country, and it doesn't, bring any benefit as a whole. So that is why when the demetrics exercise was done, or the note coin boundary was shifted, and the one Ghana Cedi banknote was coined, and higher denominations were introduced. Okay. So currently, we still have these notes that we are currently using, and these notes were upgraded in 2019. And this is the banknotes we are using, and these banknotes continue to remain the pride of Ghanaians.
But as you rightly said, per the International Currency Association, so we're talking from 2019 to today, which is 2025.
Yes.
So that's 6 years.
Yes.
So what it means is that today, tomorrow, this year, next year, you should be looking at upgrading. Is that what it is? Upgrading the current currencies that we have.
Great. So this is not direct.
Okay.
So normally we go through a number of studies. Okay. Of course, this is what International Association of Currency Affairs have stated. But we need to look at the local context. Okay.
So basically, you're not bound.
No, you are not bound. It's a recommendation.
It's just a recommendation.
And it's a recommendation. If you look at it, the British, they did the pound where they made it a polymer. Okay. Europe has currently done some upgrade. A number of countries, they are always looking at technically what is best, the best sophistication in the counterfeit to be able to meet technological challenge. Right. Also technological advancement in counterfeiting processes. So I wouldn't say directly, but as a central bank, I think we are on the market. We are also Ghanaians. Right. We are with Ghanaians, and it's a family. We also undertake a lot of research work. We look at studies, look at counterfeiting trend, look at what is also happening elsewhere, look at the durability of the currency that we have. And let me say one thing. Sometimes we compare our environment in Ghana to other environments. But let me say that if you use the same currency in Ghana and you go and spend the same money in Europe, the one in Ghana will deteriorate faster because we find ourselves in a tropical environment where we sweat. So if I'm holding the banknote, I'm sweating. So sometimes our banknotes attracts a lot of moisture. So the level of deterioration of currencies in our part of the world is higher than in temperate areas. That is why it behoves on Ghanaians to even do a lot of work to protect the currency. Right. We should be intentional about protecting the currency. And that one we'll talk about.
I see. Now, speaking about protecting the currency, and in your earlier submission, you talked about pride and how we should be proud of the currency that we have, which is the Ghana Cedi. Now, the central bank has had cause to express its reservations about what appears to be a waning or what appears to be a reduction of how people feel about this currency called the cedi, and how people prefer some other currencies to the cedi. And you have had occasions to always implore on us to maintain the cedi, keep the cedi, because cedi is ours. What do you think has accounted for why that sense of pride, some Ghanaians appear to be losing it? And how do you intend to address it?
Okay. Pride, sense of pride, very monumental. So, normally, that sense of patriotism is something that we need to inculcate in Ghanaians. Other jurisdictions, other nationals, they patronize their products. Because if Ghana can see the light of day anytime, any year, it depends on how Ghanaians patronize Ghana products. Very, very key.
Right.
In terms of the sense of pride, the Ghana Cedi is what we have as Ghanaians.
Good or bad?
Whether good or bad,
yes.
But it's not bad.
No, I'm saying, just
yes.
for argument's sake, yes.
Yeah. We must appreciate that we have something that we must honor. We have something that we must also glorify. Because nobody is going to come from out there and come and take interest in your local currency and appreciate it. If there is anything to showcase Ghana, it's the currency. One thing is that anybody who enters any country, the first thing the person will be looking out for is the currency. When the currency that the person meets is dirty, immediately it casts some doubts about, what is inside the country. If you are entering a country and the first thing you get in touch with, which is the currency, you need currency anywhere.
Right.
So the currency is a representation of the quality of life of the people and even the dignity and the extent to which the people respect their locals. If you mishandle the currency, you mishandle your dignity. But if you protect and respect the currency, you honor the story of the nation.
Okay.
You honor the story of the nation. And now, what Bank of Ghana is doing, we were sleeping, but the central bank is now waking everybody up to live up to times, to appreciate that there is now the need for us to respect our own. So this is why the central bank is now launching the cedi at 60. Even though we are looking at cedi at 60, there is an extension to everything local.
Okay.
To you and me.
Right.
The air in Ghana, the water in Ghana, how are we preserving our nature? Everything in Ghana. This is a wake-up call that unless we dignify what is Ghanaian, what is the identity of Ghana, what is our heritage, what is our identity, what is our sovereignty, what is our pride, unless we wake up to it, we will suffer as a nation.
Right.